If you ever wondered why Games Workshop did female custodies, and you're probably blocked by the Warhammer community thing on Twitter, if you have more than 2 brain cells, well, there is sort of an explanation for it. And it comes through a leak from 4chan, so take it with a grain of salt, of course, as always. So let's go through it. Female custodies are only going to be mentioned in the codex. No new sculpts or characters after the fact. Social media department jumped the gun and tried to put out fires with the wrong hose. Intent is to push female custodies character in Amazon show without it breaking lore, because Amazon execs wanted a woman in power armor and wouldn't settle for Sisters of Battle. People involved in the show are pissed because they've been moving ahead on Eisenhorn, so technically this is also a leak of what the show will be about, and it's an interesting pick, to be honest. It's what many people expected it, in fact, and it makes the most sense. Anyway, talks of inserting said female custodian into Eisenhorn's story, with Cavill threatening to walk away from the project. Small stock drop today, but Games Workshop figures it can ride it out if it stays mum on the subject. They really need better social media employees. Cavill will be in an article due to heading to Games Workshop to work on the new series this week or next. If he leaves, it will be a noticeable hit to the share price, meaning the show is dead, which is the good ending, or Amazon is calling the shots, bad ending. Not Black Corgins, but similar scenario. You can trust me, my dad works at Nintendo. But this isn't really everything. There's also this guy replying to certain things. For example, we don't really have what he's replying with, or I don't have what he's replying to, but we do have some responses. The deal in the first place was super fragile. Nothing was inked when Cavill announced it, and it sent everyone at Games Workshop into a panic. Shareholders put an immediate stop to any work until the contract was hammered out and the negotiations were brutal. If it could impact profits on the minis, Games Workshop didn't want to touch it, which is why this Custodies thing was a dumpster fire. People who should have known about it didn't, and success or not, people are going to be let go. So it's pretty clear that there will be people fired for this. And I think this is about Henry Cavill, but says don't dick ride him too hard. He always prided himself on the idea of nerd who made it. His concern is losing the clout of being known as the superfan celebrity. He responds to something else, which I have no idea what it is. Correct, again, as stated earlier, people are going to be fired for this. They weren't supposed to comment on this debacle until the crisis management meeting was called, but they did it anyways. That's why the responses were so lukewarm, like, how can you tell under the helmet? And they've always existed, we just never mentioned one. People are already calling for new sculpts and female heads, which was never the intention. There's another one where it goes, I was a bit drunk and thought it was funny. I don't believe anything I read on the internet and don't expect anyone else to either. I guess this is the part where his dad works at Nintendo. It has nothing to do with the models. Literally nobody was under the impression this would get women to buy Custodies, so this wasn't even a ploy to get in that mythical wide audience that many companies are looking for once they dip into ESG. Technically, we'll be able to confirm all this once we get more information about either the show or what's happening in it, or we'll see. And of course, because this person also has to touch on this subject, and it's the most important subject, is the Sisters of Silence. The most badass women in Warhammer ever, and their whole relationship and the whole ethos and motto and how they work is changed because they introduce, well, female custodies, which changes from a dynamic between a brother and a sister to, well, a story that could be told without having to make female custodies and ruin their whole spiel. Sisters of Silence don't speak. The differently abled suggestion was pushed by Games Workshop, but it didn't speak by choice. Sisters of Battle are too religious, and Amazon thinks it will be a turnoff. The female Inquisitor in power armor was the last hope, but Amazon wants to be able to take the character out of the armor and still have them be powerful. It's all massive headache. This basically tells us that, for better or worse, if you can believe it, Games Workshop tried their best to make it lore accurate, to make it make sense until Amazon said no, we don't want a mute and we don't want being too religious, because, of course, most companies and people nowadays have a hatred towards religious iconography. Of course, if it's only from one religion, we know other ones don't have to deal with that. But this is a different tangent that we're not going to get into. What's important is this whole information we have about Space Marines, no, about the Adeptus Custodes. And there's one last leak, and it's interesting. I'm not posting proof, and I'm not expecting anyone to believe me. I'm bottom of the barrel, but I still had to sign a boilerplate NDA, and while it's bare bones, I don't want to get caught between Games Workshop and Amazon lawyers. The economy is bad enough without being sued into a crater. I've already put myself at a pretty big risk by mentioning the appearance of a female Custodes in Eisenhorn. Nobody really knows about it. It was going to happen during the scene where Eisenhorn gets debriefed by the Space Marine. A very quick reveal, maybe 1 or 2 lines, and then never mentioned again. The story is going to be told in a past tense, recollections format, so they could have the scene happen at the start of the story. It was going to be the big progressivism smash hit to generate press. That's why it's only going to be in the codex. So when it happened, they could say it's lore accurate. It was in the official publications when said press happened. I just wanted to tell somebody, because even though I don't really care about any of this, being around this bullshit all the time kind of turns you off of being a fan. I've always had a soft spot for the Eisenhower trilogy. Everything after was basically fanfic, and I'm upset. If I wanted to reach more people, I would have gone to Reddit. So we have some interesting indications here and there about what happened, and it's basically Amazon stomping on Games Workshop, if, of course, we take this post as being serious, and it's true. Remember, it's on the internet, and even the poster makes a joke about it. So, if this is true, then it's basically Amazon pushing their boot on Games Workshop and basically forcing them to publish that story, which is still bad. It kind of shows that Games Workshop has no spine when it comes to collaborating with other big companies. But then again, Amazon is a huge company, and many companies wouldn't have spine when dealing with them, that's for sure. So what should be done about this? If this is true, there's really not much you can do, and it means the Amazon show is going to be ruined. But if you've seen Halo and Fallout, you probably have a good idea that they don't really care that much at the end of the day. Much like Netflix didn't care about The Witcher. So yeah, it was bound to happen, to be ruined. It's Amazon after all. Oh, Rings of Power, Wheel of Time. There are many examples I could go into now that I think about it. So yeah, the show was kind of doomed from the beginning, especially being Amazon. And I can't really see it ending well either way. Not for Games Workshop, because they capitulated like this. Not for the show, because it's going to be terrible. But we'll see. We're not really sure about that. It might just be one act of wokeism in a good series. Doubtful it's only going to be one. Very doubtful about that one. I guess we'll have to see. I'm still not going to be investing into Games Workshop products from now on, so this leak doesn't really change much overall for me as a customer. So at the end of the day, if we are to believe this leak, then yeah, Games Workshop kind of blew themselves out of there, especially with who they hired to take care of their social media, their community managers. But then again, when had community managers ever done anything good in today's age? That's for sure. So that was bound to be expected. Then I guess, oh well, Games Workshop is weak, and the show is going to be kind of awful if Amazon has its way. So yeah, things aren't looking any better. Like when you expect the Games Workshop to go into the ASG money, that was one thing. With BlackRock and Vanguard, whatever. That was one thing. This one makes it funnier. I'm just being honest right now. While the world is burning, this makes it funny. There will always be people that will laugh at the destruction of things, because at the end of the day, it was going to happen either way. So I might as well make it funny. And this, in my opinion, if it's true, makes it funny as all hell that it's going this way. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh yeah, now I have to shill, like, comment, subscribe, rate, do the usual thing. We're close to 2,000, so hopefully I'll get it by the end of this year. That's a good one. That's a good one.